Feast, an Ashanti Tale. Retold. The author is retold by Taloa Malo. Illustrator is Andrew Glass. Publisher Clarion Books. Copyright 1997. Genre is traditional literature, folk tales, and there are 31 pages. The plot summary. Anansi. This story is about Anansi the spider, who prepares himself for a drought by stowing away food to prepare himself. During the drought, Anansi is preparing a feast with the food that he stored, and he's just so excited to be able to eat the food. Before eating, he makes sure to seal all of the windows and cracks so that unwanted visitors will not stop by and ask him for food. Anansi did not expect his friend Akai the turtle to smell the food from his barren food home. Akai the turtle knocks on Anansi's door to beg for a small bite of food. When Akai sees the feast before his eyes, he feels with joy as he is very hungry from the lack of food the drought has produced. Anansi greedily says, Now, you have to use your manners and go down to the river to wash your hands." Well, Akai is confused. He said, "Well, why can't I just wash my hands here?" Anansi says, "Well, I'm sorry, I ran out of water. You have to go to the river." Akai didn't realize that Anansi was playing a trick on him, and he wanted him to leave so that Anansi could eat all of the food himself. So after Akai goes back and forth to the river to wash his hands and use his manners to make sure that he wasn't being rude to his friend, when he finally comes back, he notices that all of the food is gone because Anansi the spider ate it all, and he is left without food and still hungry. Then the drought goes away because it starts raining and the harvest starts to flourish again. And Akai remembers the situation with Anansi that happened with the feast. So he plans to play a trick on Anansi and pay him back for what he felt when he was hungry. Also, he knew that Anansi was not a good hunter, so he would not have any food. So Akai has this huge feast and invites his friend Anansi over for dinner. And Anansi is very, very excited because he is starving because he doesn't have any food. So Anansi puts on his best robe, which is a very colorful, bright ceremonial robe that they use in African culture. He puts on this wonderful robe with very vibrant colors to go to the feast with his friend Akai. When he gets there, when he jumps off the tree, he is not able to get to the bottom. He is just simply too light. So after thinking and thinking and thinking of how he can get to the bottom of the lake to go to his feast with his friend Akai, he finds some pebbles on the beach and he begins stuffing his pockets with them. And once he does that, it makes him heavier. So when he finally dives into the water, he's able to go down with his friend Akai and enjoy the wonderful feast. So he gets there and they're around the table, and at the table, Akai says, Now, in my house, you have to take your robe off to eat. It's just simply good manners." Well, Anansi knows that if he takes that robe off, he is going to float to the surface and he will not be able to stay at the bottom and eat the feast. So Akai insists he must take his robe off, and Anansi says, No, I'm fine, I can leave it on. So finally, Anansi takes the robe off, and just as he suspected, he floats to the top of the water and is unable to eat the feast. The moral of the story, I believe, was do unto others as you would have done to you. The illustrations are hand-drawn illustrations, and my favorite ones, here's one of them, where Anansi is diving down to the bottom of the lake to enjoy his feast. And the other one is this one, where everything begins to be watered by the rain and it's now swampy. And do you see Anansi? He's covering himself and he's reading the letter from his friend Akai to join him for a feast. The content area that I would use this with would be science, introducing the different biomes and different habitats for animals. The vocabulary would be drought, predator, prey. The teachings are actions have consequences. The grade level would be grades 3 through 5. I would use this book to introduce folktales piggybacked by diversity, with it being an African folktale. It would also be a good read for an ELL student because the words are simple and there's a clear illustration of what's happening with the images. The storyline is inviting and easily understood. And there could be a good relationship with the teacher to student interaction when the African vocabulary is chanted by not only the student but the classroom. And it can introduce just having fun while reading.